All right, here's a brief description of how you'll use the First Trust Deed Interest Calculations template for each client. It basically has columns that will be input from Blueleaf from the monthly amount, and there'll be some automatic calculations. So inputs will go into column A, B, C, and F, and automatic calculations will come out in D, E, and H. What you'll do is use Blueleaf as the source for the date, the amount of the first trust deeds that are invested that month, and the gross amount of interest. Let's do an example with Sandy Davis. And let's use the holdings. Let's say we're doing her regular IRA account. The holdings tab is where you'll get the monthly amount of invested first trust deeds in a particular month. Based upon the particular account that you're looking at, you're going to use the transactions tab to determine what the gross amount of interest was for the month. For example, June of 2024 would be a combination of the two June transactions in order to figure out what the gross amount of the interest is for input. The administrative deduction is automatically calculated, but it's automatically calculated based upon something that is input manually depending on the time horizon. So currently, now, back through November of 2023, the calculation would be in Airtable, the desired expense authorization. If it says 13% in Airtable, then this is going to be accurate because the calculation is times 0.13. Prior to November of 2023, it was, the administrative deduction was lower. You can just assume it was lower by 0.02%. So prior to November 2023, it would be times 0.11 or 11%. And so this is, column F is automatically calculated, but you also have to make sure that you have the right administrative deduction prior to November of 23 and following November of 2023. Items that you're going to ignore in Blueleaf would be the $20 per first trust deed cost. You would ignore those. You would ignore the annual administrative cost of several $100s that's deducted each year. That would be ignored. Any ingoing and outgoing costs, wire fees for money coming in or money going out, are going to be ignored. those are generally round numbers. $20, $500, $140. Whereas the withdrawals related to the interest are generally non-round numbers. So for example, a $20 withdrawal, this is an administrative cost to buy a first trust deed. If it's a non-round number, then we can generally assume that is related to the actual interest. You would also ignore any transactions that don't occur at the date of the end of the month. Sometimes you inserted transactions in order to make the numbers work in the middle of the month. For example, like on the 15th. So those weren't actual deposits or withdrawals. Those were things that you put in order to make the calculation work. But by convention, you always put them in the middle of the month rather than at the end of the month, so that you could distinguish what was coming from a statement and what was coming from your own. If you have any questions about the accuracy of any particular month, then you can always go to Ignite Funding statement for that particular month and determine what is correct.